Hello and welcome to Sean White's Solar and Energy Storage Podcast.
Today, our special guest is Navdeep Martin, and she was a presenter at the world's famous NorCal Solar second annual 50th anniversary party that we had a few months ago. And she gave a talk, and now we're going to get the extended version. So thanks for talking to me, Navdeep.
That's right. Yeah, thank you.
Yep. And so for the very few of you that were not at the NorCal Solar event, I'm going to tell you a little bit about Navdeep. Like, her job title is a CEO. What does CEO stand for, by the way?
Chief Executive Officer.
Oh, okay. She's a Chief Executive Officer. That's what it is. And also a co-founder of Flypower. And Flypower does this thing with AI and renewable energy and finding your sites and all that kind of stuff. And we're also at the Clean Power Conference, Clean Power 25. It's my first one to attend.
Mine too.
And it used to be like a wind conference.
Yes.
And now the solar people are taking it over.
We are.
I asked somebody today, I was like, do you feel bad about that? Like the solar people are taking over your conference? And he's like, yeah, and it's like, all they want is money or something, like that. But I think it's good to join forces and all that kind of stuff and take over the wind industry. Just kidding. Then I was telling him how wind and solar, or wind is for solar power too, because when the wind blows, it cools off your solar cells and it makes them work better and you get more power, energy, and money. Some people like money, I have to say that. And you saw Trevor Noah today too, right?
Yes.
Yes. And today he was talking a little bit about how you can also appeal to people instead of their guilt. Like a lot of times with renewable energy, they're trying to appeal to people's guilt, where like, you got to clean the planet and all that kind of stuff. And some people don't care about that. They just want to know that things are less expensive or something like that.
That's right.
And so we can also appeal to that because solar and wind are less expensive. And so
yes, your energy bills, the whole 9 yards.
Which would bring down the price of eggs.
That's at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Everyone's our grocery costs. Bananas are 99 cents a pound where I live.
Wow. And you live near where I live, so it's probably the same thing. And so tell us a little bit about Flypower.
Yeah, so Flypower, I built Flypower, started around 2 years ago. And the idea around it was, so a little bit of my background, I've been in AI for 10 years. Before it was cool to be.
Before anybody knew what that meant.
Before anyone, I didn't. So I certainly didn't. Learned alongside really great, amazing people, and built up products for the Washington Post, national, like CIA, like.
The CIA? Do you have clearance? You
I
couldn't
did,
tell me.
I did, but
all right.
Actually, I sat in a basement at the CIA.
Okay.
It's not as interesting as everybody thinks it is.
Sure, that's what I've watched those movies, and the people that say they sit in the basement are like really off in some country with like doing backflips with two guns and stuff like that. That's probably you.
You can imagine. I'll just leave that for your imagination. And then, and on top of that, working for some of the top brands in the country, using AI for competitive advantage. And so about 2 years ago when OpenAI was blowing up and ChatGPT was becoming such an amazing breakthrough, I also at that time was going out on my own, and I thought, hey, let me do something better with my skill set, as in something better for society. And so I picked climate and got into renewable energy specifically because I found that all of the people I spoke with were telling me about permits and not getting approved, community resistance being one of the top reasons for project failure. And I thought, hey, wait a minute, I've done this before. I know how to apply AI. I know how to understand social media, news. And now I was just adding government meetings and some other data sources to the mix. So that was Flypower. We basically analyze all of these public available data sources to help you understand the location you're building in.
Wow. And so does Flypower specialize in solar, storage, wind?
All of the,
everything.
Good question. All of those, yes. We started with just solar, and then we got our first battery storage project, and we're like, oh no, we have to figure out. And then it turned out it was very similar. We didn't even really have to change our code. So we work on all three.
Okay. And what if I came to you and I said, I want to install a really dirty coal plant? Would you help me?
I would not. Yes, we do. We draw the line. I think the only thing we've been thinking about is, as a business, is do we extend to other development projects that, say, also face community resistance. So data centers is one thing that we talk about, but it's still kind of far away as well.
Okay, cool. So data centers, are those good for the environment or bad for the environment? Maybe since you're doing AI and that's good, you're using it for a reason that's good for the environment, then I guess data centers can be good for the environment.
Yeah, I mean, obviously they're using so much power, but the thing is they're going to be built anyway. And why not have it be built around renewable? And so there's kind of like synergistic kind of relationship that I could have across the board.
You know, I've wondered at times, like, would my AI, like Chat GPT or something like that, if it's hooked up to solar and solar electricity is cheaper in the middle of the day, would it give me a better answer in the middle of the day? Like if there's extra computing power or extra energy, does it work better?
We haven't coded it that way yet, so probably not.
I mean, I don't know, like maybe there's just like, because I know sometimes that it doesn't work as well, or like it even goes down, and I think maybe it's because a lot more people are using it all at once, maybe something like that.
I think they're releasing new models all the time, and then the thing that you used to ask about is no longer optimized, and so I think that's kind of constantly happening. So
like even if you pay extra, you're supposed to get like better service or something like that?
Yeah, so we're paying for all, a whole conglomerate of models, and you can upload more stuff, so you can basically ask, you have longer sessions and so forth, but as far as the answers being better, yes, because you have the better models as well. So yeah, you can.
Maybe someday it will be like that, because we'll have lots of servers and they won't all be on at once, and you can use more of them for your answer, like more computing power when energy is less expensive. So that would be like middle of the day or something like that.
Right.
Yeah.
That would be.
And then it would also be a way to like reduce loads at certain times. Like it's like, okay, we're going to give worse answers now because the grid needs it. I mean,
Right. Like your power bill is more expensive if you.
Yeah, like some sort of demand response or something like that.
It's an interesting idea.
Yeah. And then also too, like cryptocurrencies, they use a lot of computing power, but it's also something that they can turn off, because when electricity is more expensive, or to keep the grid from going down, if there's too much demand, they can turn it off. So it's like a variable load that will help increase the amount of solar that goes in, because then more people could afford solar. I know there's just all kinds of different ways of looking at things.
I mean, you go back to the Trevor Noah talk, right? It's all about the incentives. So when people change their behavior, if it's cheaper for them to do something in a certain time, then probably.
Yeah, so the grid's all changing. But so you're looking at like where to put stuff. So where should I put my gigawatts?
We are actually the other way around. The developer tells us they usually, after they've secured the land, that's about when we get called and say, hey, we want to get our permit approved, tell us everything you've got on it, and so then we start our process. So we're analyzing commissioners, how they voted in the past, what they might have run on, any public comments, what do they care about? And again, maybe it's not renewable energy, but maybe they care about bringing revenue into the county, or maybe they're very rules focused and so very policy oriented. So we'll look at them. Beyond that, we'll look at institutional stakeholders. Who can you get on your side? We'll look at past projects in the area. There's a whole swath of information you can dig into to really understand an area you've never been to.
Wow. So you like look at the commissioners and their voting records. I had a weird thought too. Like, let's say their voting records change either seasonally or like having something to do with an election cycle. Would it take that into consideration? It's like, oh, don't ask them until after the election, or or ask before the election, something like that.
Yeah, so we have when their term ends as well. And the biggest thing though is the meetings themselves. Like we hear them talk, like we have all of the 4 years of data. Yeah. Or
you have all the meetings and then it all gets converted to
it all synthesized,
text
and so you can
stuff.
really understand what someone thinks about, how they think about renewable, or even the other projects, how did they vote for those, and what they said about them. So instead of going there and knocking on the door of the wrong person, maybe you reach out to the potential ally, and say, hey, I know you really care about bringing in revenue, and hey, I have this opportunity here. And so it really gives you a starting point to getting on the path to approval.
That's interesting that you can take a city council meeting and then use the AI, and you could pick things out of there, and you could probably ask it things and go, and how would this person think about that?
Yeah.
How would they vote? And
Completely, yeah. We're not at the point where it's getting. We're building out our product. We don't have it where you could go and question the data. It's a one-way thing at the moment, but that is where we're headed. Yeah. Why don't you? Do you have data too? Why don't you upload? Like maybe you had a meeting with them and you have your notes, and so being able to put this all together into a strategic. Like, what do I do with this? How do I get my project approved? You give me the layout of this location and tell me what to do in what order.
so do you also incorporate things like who they're getting their campaign contributions from?
We do have that, yeah, because that's publicly available.
And then when would be a good time to give them a contribution? And if like how they would react to that, if they would vote differently right after they get a contribution?
Yeah, so I am fortunate to have talked to so many people in this industry. And so these aren't I almost want to attribute who told me this, but anyhow, some of the really smart things I see the companies that are on the community engagement teams is they'll look at what the commissioner cares about. Like, maybe their wife's on the Boy Scout group of America, or maybe they go to this church, every Sunday there's a specific gathering, but whatever, they're really trying to find the connections of what this group of people cares about, and then they might put money into that even. So it's a really the really good people that have the resources to do that analysis for themselves are really have very complex procedures.
It's kind of cool and could be kind of scary.
It's kind of, yeah. I mean, think about it though. Oil and gas has been doing this for decades. Like I know
doing it way more.
Yeah. I mean, they're seeding a lot of the things that the resistance we're seeing. So, I mean, really what we're trying to do in bringing those kind of secret sauce of other industries and really bring it here and do, have something, a good impact out of the sneakiness, I suppose, of determining what someone cares about.
We interrupt you for a very important announcement. Sean White's Solar and Energy Storage Podcast has been brought to you by Sean White's Solar and Energy Storage Podcast. That's right, Sean White is sponsoring his own podcast, and he wants to remind you to go check out some of his classes. You can go to SolarSean, that's Solar, SEAN.com, and then click on the links to check out his classes. You can check out his heat spring classes, and you can also hire him to teach classes for you, like at your company, something like that. Now back to the show.
Okay, so where is your region that you specialize in?
Since it's AI based, it's just the United States, so anywhere, any state. So we've been all over actually, as far as the reports we've done so far.
And I guess you work with lots of really big companies?
Yeah, I never, when you're a small business, you never want to have the big companies as your sales cycle. But yeah, we have a bunch of really large developers. And then we also have the consultant, like either the PR comms firms or other consultants that are advising the developers on obtaining a permit. And so those two are a primary.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. And I suppose that if there even was competition and there was somebody that was doing what you were doing, it would actually in some ways be complementary, because it's like talking to two different people. I don't know if there is competition. I don't know anybody that's doing what you're doing.
Having done this for so long on the AI side, there really isn't competition doing what we're doing. I think people are doing things at a broader level, like higher level, like here's what the whole county, and that might be done with polling and other things. Yeah. And then there's certainly a consultant side to this, like, hey, a consultant doing it, doing all the manual process of doing this. But technology-wise, we're the only ones doing the community sentiment.
Yep. And then you can find out about all these politicians, and then we could find out which ones to get rid of, stuff like that.
However you use the data.
So
yeah, that's true. Yeah, you could put them on a list as far as, campaign efforts and so forth.
So where is a lot of the business happening right now? You probably have a good idea of where things are going to be built in the next 3 years or something like that.
Yeah, I'm supposed to keep all of the locations, I'm not able to say what locations people are building in, according to all my NDAs, but
I would imagine Texas. There's probably a lot going on there. And
well, so I have two types of customers. There's the proactive, we want this for all of everything we're building. And then there's the other ones that want to come to us when they know they're going to run into a problem. I kind of have places you would expect, and then the places just where people are being proactive and just doing this for everything.
Great. Okay. And so I guess it's a great business, so we should find some more customers for you. You need some more, or you have too many?
I'm always in the mode of either we have too many. So we have too many right now. We probably have too many, but I don't know when you're posting the podcast.
Yeah. Okay.
So probably.
No, it's always good to have more. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's
and
always
then you
good to have
can
more.
pick the best ones and things like that.
Yeah. And no, I think the one thing to know is our report.
Yeah, we are at a conference.
We're at a conference. Someone just spilled a bunch of.
We hear noises, banging.
Yeah. At the moment, we take 2 weeks of a turnaround to produce our reports. And then that's because we have a human in the loop validating that everything we're saying is completely 100%. So that is why it's not yet at the click of a button that you can get our reports. So that is where the too many customer, at some point I will catch up.
So you're growing business.
Well, a growing business, yeah.
Okay. So that's pretty neat. And so how do people find out where you are and where to find you? I know that you live near where I live, right near my old high school. I used to live off Marchbanks. You probably know that street.
Yes. Did I tell you about my bike accident on Marchbanks?
Oh, I think you did. Yeah.
But yes, so
sorry to bring it up.
I know the one I broke both my elbows.
Oh, gosh.
Can you imagine, like both?
You seem
my
okay.
Elbows. Yeah, no, it's fine now.
Okay.
But no, it's Flypower. Flypower.io is our website, and then my name is Navdeep. Pretty distinctive name.
Yeah.
Many of us.
Yeah, and of course, we'll put all that stuff in the show notes. And do you use AI for everything in your business, like even finding customers and stuff like that?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, the more I tell everyone that works with us, the more you think to use it for things you would normally go ask someone or go Google, like you get better at it, and it quite frequently amazes.
Do you have a favorite AI that you use?
It keeps changing.
You use them all?
Well, no, we're using a subset of, we're not using everything, but the top ones, in my opinion, at the moment are Perplexity. Gemini is really good right now, and then Claude and ChatGPT are almost up there.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, great. And then I know there's what's the one from China that's DeepSeek?
DeepSeek.
I have it on my phone. I haven't used it much lately. Yeah. So do you ever use DeepSeek, or is that because it's from a competing country that it's probably good to avoid?
Of course. So the way you can use DeepSeek is as long as it's not hosted on a Chinese server. So one thing Perplexity offers is a US-based hosted DeepSeek. So yes.
Oh, so Perplexity even offers that's hosted here.
They're hosting it, yes.
That's complicated. Yeah.
It is complicated, yeah. It was really smart. Like literally, they did that within days too. They were really on it. But so yes, it is a good. It's a good model. It's an arms race, honestly. Like by the time this, you print this, it'll change.
Yeah. That's pretty interesting. Okay. All right. And so when you're looking for a solar site, what are the things that you're looking for? Like, does somebody just say, find me a place, and then you will find them like a piece of land too?
There are other companies doing that part of the problem. Ours is more like, hey, we're building at Preble County, Ohio. Tell me about this county or this town, and then we give them that report.
And then as far as how that process goes, people go looking for land, their transmission lines and all that kind of stuff. So maybe we could explain that to some beginners, how that works.
Yeah, I feel like you'd be the better explainer.
Okay. So they find the land, and there's an option to lease, and then they have to go out there and find out that everything works, and they have to go through a whole bunch of different pieces of land, and they're not going to get every one, and it's very expensive. So it takes people deep pockets to even get involved in that kind of thing. And there's got to be the transmission, and then they have to make agreements of who's going to buy the power. They call that the off-taker.
Yes. What we're finding too is just the mailing campaign and so forth of trying to obtain landowners. For where that hits what we do is now the landowners know that there's potentially a renewable energy project. So you've now unofficially just announced your project. And so I've spoken with companies about that part of that too, because you don't want someone else telling your messaging on your project.
Yeah.
However, you need to obtain the land before you make any announcement, but it gets complicated pretty quickly.
I think when you were talking at the NorCal Solar event, you were talking about there being activists that hate solar.
Yes.
So what should we do about them? We just need more activists that love solar to counteract that?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you, I don't have I'll tell you what I see the other developers doing, which is if they know that they're in a location that has a lot of opposition, one thing that I try to advise them is, hey, we do this with our report as well. We analyze whether it's a pure NIMBY, literally the backyard, someone in the next door neighbor? Or is it a widespread thing? So yeah, I think this is what we were talking about. Like, there will be people with websites where they'll, on one of the menus will say projects, and they'll literally list every project that this group has went to go shut down. They're going out to cancel any project.
So where are these people from? Why do they want to do it? Is it just because they're like, they hate anything renewable because they're just kind of not too smart?
It's not necessarily renewable. Some of them are anything that affects the view. So hey, I moved to this location for the view and look at all these projects. And so they'll have renewable will be part of it, and there'll be other types of projects there too.
Do you think they're like secretly being financed by like oil companies, utilities, things like that?
I think for sure that is happening too. And there's Facebook groups, they kind of all organize very
I've
similarly.
heard about this, yeah.
And so those are a different brand, and that's where you have like a very potent like opposition. Like those groups will organize letter writing campaigns to shut down your project. And so again, what do developers do? The thing is, you need to bring in allies to the same town hall meetings, so that the council basically needs cover to be able to say, oh, there's people for and against this project. Okay, let me decide on this project based off of its merits. And so finding those allies, which is another thing we do. So we look at the institutional stakeholders and identify who we think would be allies to the project.
I wonder what kind of people just like wake up in the morning and go like, my purpose in life today is to take out some renewable energy projects, you know?
I think some of the cancel culture has kind of just come here is what I think is happening.
Yeah. And it's just like they don't like one thing about like a certain part of society, and then they just go after everything that's distantly related to it.
Yeah,
probably.
and they're part of a group, so you feel like this group membership of something. And so it is complex psychologically, I would say. Yeah.
Do you see, is it like certain kinds of churches or anything like that, or?
We have not seen churches be anti-renewable, no.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of any surprising people that would be anti-renewable. I mean, it comes from all sorts of.
Is it MAGA culture, do you think?
Not necessarily. Developers will tell me, and I've seen it in the data as well all the time, that hey, the blue areas aren't necessarily going to be pro. Sometimes they're, it's totally opposite. And same with red. Sometimes the red areas, they're just like, okay, as long as you follow the policy, you're good to go. We don't care. We don't care what you're building here.
Yeah, I can remember, I think it was Teddy Kennedy was against, like, what was it, the Cape Wind Project or something like that? This was years ago.
Yeah, no, I didn't.
And I think it was like, they're all like Kennedys and renewable energy and all that stuff. And then there was going to be some like offshore wind project that was going to be disturbing their view, from their rich Cape Cod place, something like that. Yeah.
Can I just say, I think wind turbines are beautiful. I don't
I
understand.
do too, yeah.
When I drive to Palm Springs from
where
we both live, and I will like take my phone out the window as I'm driving, because it's so beautiful. I don't understand. I feel like we need a marketing campaign just on how beautiful this is.
I like solar projects, wind projects, rolling hills. There's a lot worse things that they can do.
Yeah.
And I think too, it's like the wind projects, they're getting bigger and bigger. And as they get bigger, they're less dangerous to birds too. And we gotta and if you're gonna do something about wind turbines for birds, you gotta go after the house cats, because they're a lot worse. So.
We have one of those in my neighborhood too.
A house cat, yeah.
Or an outside cat, yeah.
Oh yeah, yep, I do too, yep. A mouser, yep.
Yes.
Okay, great. Let's see, is there anything else that we should cover that you want to talk about, or?
I think, we would love to, if anyone's interested in partnering or, working together, and somehow I think we're all kind of contributing to the same goals, and so we'd love to hear from you if you'd like to chat.
Well, thank you so much, Navdeep Martin from Flypower from Walnut Creek, California, where I graduated from high school. And it was great talking to you here at Clean Power 25, put on by American Clean Power, where we both saw my hero, Trevor Noah, today. And that guy is smart. Comedians are smart. I think comedians should rule the world.
Yes, his brain is I was hoping to run into him, which was of course he's not just walking out, but can I somehow run into this person? Anyway.
Somebody that I was sitting next to said she's going to marry him. He just doesn't know it yet.
Oh, is he single? I didn't know.
Apparently that's what she said.
That's funny.
I think she would probably marry him even if he wasn't single.
She'll find a way.
But yeah, it's amazing to me like how relevant what he said was for the renewable energy industry. And obviously, just from listening to the conversation, he didn't go study up for this talk or anything like that.
Yeah.
He was studying about AI yesterday, he
Yes,
said.
yes.
Yeah. And just learning all this stuff. But he's like very smart, very good speaker. And I think you got to be smart to be able to tell all those jokes.
I think comedians are just observing what we're observing, but their brain is working 10x, and,
Yeah,
and they're
yeah.
finding like they're perceiving it in a completely different way.
Yep, great. All right, thanks everybody, and go check it out, solarsean.com. I have some classes there, get you NABCEP certified, get you super smart, smarter than AI, guaranteed, right?
I'm sure.
All right.